Minecraft movie made so much money, a sequel is almost 100% guaranteed. So, here are my ideas for another Minecraft movie. There are two roads this movie could go down. A. Make an actual good animated movie that does justice to the fans with Steve fighting the Ender Dragon. Or option B, which is you go down the stupid route, and seeing as though the first one made so much money, I think we all know it's going to be the stupid one. I've heard a few people saying that Alex should be the next main character, but come on, you can't beat Steve. I am Alex. Just does not hit hard. So instead, I propose that Alex is a love interest or just a side character for Steve. My first idea for a sequel is that Steve gets trapped back in the Minecraft world somehow, and he needs to escape because, I don't know, a stupid reason, like he might have a date with Alex. But who would the villain be? Well, at the start of the first Minecraft movie, we saw Steve living a normal life, but he hates it. He is bored out of his skull, and then he remembers the mines. Anyway, the villain of the sequel to a Minecraft movie would be a Steve from another universe, but he stayed at work and he didn't remember about the mines, and he wastes his life away in his office job that he hates. Then, this new Steve would learn about our Steve, and he's jealous of his creativity. So he steals the blue Tesseract-looking thing and uses it to gain the powers of the Warden, and then he becomes Herobrine. Then, Herobrine banishes Steve to the end, expecting Steve to be killed by the Ender Dragon, but Steve slays it, and at the portal, he sees Herobrine has destroyed the overworld. Now, Steve has a choice. He can either go back to the real world and forget about the overworld to live his life with Alex, or he can go into the overworld and save it to fight Herobrine. In the end, he decides to fight Herobrine despite all the odds, but he gets absolutely battered. So instead, he spends his last few minutes alive making a silly house. That's it. He doesn't bother to fight Herobrine, he makes a silly house. But that really gets to Herobrine. So they stop fighting, they fix the world, and they live happily ever after. This would be a prelude to the original Minecraft movie. That's why he hasn't beaten the Ender Dragon, and that's why in the first Minecraft movie he has elytra wingsuits. And they could make up a silly excuse like when he went through the portal he forgot all of his memory, and that's why he was surprised when he meets Alex in the post-credit scene of the first one. My next idea for a sequel is that there is one last piglin standing in the overworld. It's plotting its revenge, and so it goes back to the Nether, and there's like a 5-minute montage of it travelling to another fortress, getting some wither skulls and some soul sand. I think you see where this is going. So, he goes to the overworld and somehow sends a message to Steve to come back to the Minecraft and revive his piglin friends, otherwise he will spawn the wither and everything will wither and die. So, Steve gets a team together, the old cast, plus a few others, and Alex and Dennis. They go to the overworld, but it's too late. The wither is already spawned and they have to kill it. Meanwhile, there would be a side plot with the villager and Marlene. In this side plot, the villager is taken to Area 51 to have research done on it by the government, and so it's up to Marlene to bust him out. In the end, they defeat the wither, and it drops a nether star. But in the battle, Dennis dies. Then an illager steals the star because it is the main ingredient in the cube thing, which they need in order to revive Dennis. So they go back to the woodland mansion in order to steal it back, but as they get there, they see it all in flames, and then they see another Steve flying in the air, holding an orange block. This is Herobrine. Steve doesn't know what the block he's holding is until Herobrine places it. It's a command block. So, Steve goes back into the real world, time travels to the past somehow, and becomes the old man guarding the mines. Steve's plan is to stop the original Steve from ever going into Minecraft, But just as he is about to stop himself, old Steve thinks. He remembers all of the good times he's had with Minecraft, and even though it's over, he is just happy that it happened. So he lets OG Steve start digging, creates the Minecraft paradox, and an infinite loop of Steve, old Steve, Steve, old Steve, Steve, old Steve. Yeah, that's probably the stupidest idea ever. It's a perfect sequel to an absolutely perfect, stupid film. The next idea is a bit more realistic. This time, instead of accidentally falling into the Minecraft world like the original film, the cast find out that the villager that accidentally stumbled into the world and is dating Marlene has created loads of issues. It's causing the real world to become blockified. So they try to convince the villager to go back, but Marlene refuses. So the cast go to the overworld on purpose to try and get his other villager friends to convince him to come back. But as they enter through the portal, it crashes, leaving the cast stranded in Minecraft. Steve accepts it at first, but the others want to go back home before it's too late. Then Steve starts to dig down to collect dirt for a house, when suddenly a mysterious character pops out of the shadows. It's another Steve, but his eyes glow white. This new Steve tells the OG Steve, "Hey, don't dig straight down. It's not safe. I'm Brian, by the way." Brian shows the cast a base that he's made in the side of a mountain. The cast seem to like Brian, but Steve knows that something is off. The cast and Brian then go to an ocean monument in order to craft a new tesseract to light the portal back up. But Steve tries to warn them the dangers of that. Brian asks to have a word with Steve in a forest, in private. As they talk in the forest, Brian starts to fly in the air and traps Steve in a bedrock box. In one outburst of power, it shreds all the leaves off the trees too, just like how Herobrine shredded the leaves in those really old YouTube videos. Brian then goes back to the cast, and they head off to the ocean monument without Steve. On the way there, Brian says, "Oh, I've forgotten my water-breathing potions." So he instructs Henry to go back and get them. Brian thinks that the journey will kill Henry, but Henry makes it back to the base just in time. While looking for the potions, Henry notices a secret button. So he pulls it and notices a secret piston door opens. When Henry goes through, he sees loads of villagers trapped in dismal little cells, forced to sell items or they will be eaten by zombies. Henry is mortified, so he runs to the forest where he sees Steve in a bedrock box. Steve asks Henry if he has an ender pearl, and using that ender pearl, Steve phases through the box. Meanwhile, the others do eventually complete the ocean monument, but one of them dies. Oh no! But this is all part of Brian's plan. Eventually, they find out all the parts to craft the cube are in the top of the ocean monument, so they defeat the Elder Guardian and get it. However, on the way back to the base, Jason Momoa's character dies as well, only leaving Natalie, the little girl, left with Brian. Natalie and Brian go to the portal, and the girl expects Brian to light it so she can go back home. But he doesn't. Brian says, "Listen, I've wanted this orb for years, and now I could finally craft a command block. Infinite power, all for me." While this happens, Steve, Henry, and Dennis watch from the side while Steve explains everything, like a command block which gives you 3 wishes of anything you want. Natalie looks up at Brian, who starts to hover like you do in creative mode, and she says the beautiful line of, "You were supposed to be the hero, Brian." He responds, "Herobrine. I like that name." Herobrine places the command block, lightning starts to strike down. Herobrine looks at the girl, unsheaths his netherite sword. Steve, watching from the sideline, explains, "That's netherite, crafted from the depths of hell. We have to stop him." Then he instructs Henry and Dennis to form a distraction with Natalie. and he says, "I'm going to use the command block to kill him." Then Steve goes over to the command block, and in an intense battle where Henry, Natalie, and Dennis distract Herobrine, Steve manages to do it just in time before Herobrine stops him. But in the process, Natalie and Henry die. They're killed by Herobrine, and Dennis is left bleeding in pain on the floor. Did I mention that this sequel would be a 15 rating for gore, gritty, and violence? That's an R in the US. Now, while it does go against the target audience of kids and completely contradicts the PG rating of the first film, let's be honest, no kid is actually watching it. It's only the teens and young adults. Just for the chicken jockeys. So I think a 15 rated would cause loads of hype and would just be overall really funny. Anyway, Steve would mourn the death of the other two and would stay with Dennis for his last dying woofs. And then he remembers he has 2 uses left of the command block, so he revives all of the friends and uses his final wish of /give @S Tesseract, and then they can go home. But they remember the home was destroyed. But as they go through it, they find it's all fine. The villager actually cheated on Marlene and was then subsequently killed in a gang war, leaving the world at peace. So, what do you think of my ideas? Make sure to like and subscribe, and if this video gets 100 likes, then I will recreate one of these that I thought of in real life. Yeah, subscribe. Thank you, bye!